Stop waiting for the siren. In the scenario we are discussing today, the silence is permanent. There is no golden hour. There is no medevac bird spinning up to haul you out of the kill zone. The hospital is not a sanctuary. It is a biohazard containment zone that failed 3 days ago. You have been conditioned by Hollywood to believe that post-collapse survival is about firefights and trauma kits. You think the threat is a raider with a rifle. You are wrong. The threat is invisible, microscopic, and it is currently breeding on the handle of the water jug you just touched. The brutal math of survival medicine without doctors is that you don't die in a blaze of glory. You die shivering in your own waste because you scratched your knuckle on a rusty fence and didn't have 50 cents worth of soap to clean it. We are going to talk about the unsexy, gritty reality of keeping your people alive when the pharmacy is looted and the 911 dispatch center is dark. This isn't about playing surgeon. It's about force protection against biology itself. Most of you have a trauma kit in your go bag. You have tourniquets, chest seals, maybe even some clotting gauze. You feel prepared. That gear makes you feel tactical. But let me ask you a question. Do you have 6 months of blood pressure medication for your spouse? Do you have oral rehydration salts for when your child drinks bad water and starts losing fluids faster than you can pour them back in? If the answer is no, your tourniquet is just a souvenir. In a grid-down environment, the leading causes of death revert to what they were in 1850. Infection, dysentery, childbirth, simple respiratory failures. The brutal math says that for every 1 person dropped by a bullet, 1,000 will drop because they couldn't manage a simple fever. You need to shift your mindset from combat medic to 19th century country doctor. If you don't, you are going to watch people you love fade away from problems that were solvable, and the guilt of that will break you long before starvation does. Let's run the simulation. It's day 14. The power has been out for 2 weeks. The initial panic has settled into a grinding, desperate routine. You are part of a neighborhood watch, securing the perimeter. One of your guys, let's call him Miller, is moving debris to reinforce a barricade. He snags his forearm on a piece of galvanized fencing. It rips through his jacket and opens a jagged 3-inch gash. It's not arterial, it's not spurting. In the old world, he'd drive to urgent care, get 5 stitches, a tetanus booster, and be back at work the next day. But this is the new world. Miller looks at it, wipes the blood off with a rag that's been in his pocket for a week, a rag covered in sweat, dirt, and unseen bacteria, and wraps it up with duct tape because he wants to look tough. He doesn't want to burn through the group's limited sterile gauze. He tells you he's good to go. That decision, right there, is the lethal event. The bullet didn't fire, but the trigger was pulled. Day 16. Miller is sluggish on patrol. He's sweating, but it's 40 degrees out. He tells you he's just tired. You check the wound. The area around the duct tape is angry, red, and hot to the touch. Red streaks are starting to track up his forearm toward his armpit. That is the infection entering the lymphatic system. The bacteria from that dirty rag are now colonizing his blood. By day 17, Miller isn't standing guard. He's delirious, shivering violently on a mattress in the living room. His fever is spiking to 104. You have no antibiotics. You have no IV fluids. You watch as a strong, capable man, a force multiplier for your group, drowns in his own inflammatory response. He dies on day 19. He didn't die from the cut. He died because of a failure in protocol. He died because he treated a medical injury like an inconvenience. And now you are down a rifle, and the morale of your group is shattered because they just realized that a rusty nail is as dangerous as a sniper. You hear that story and you think, I have antibiotics, I'm fine. Are you? Do you know the dosage? Do you know the expiration? Do you know if you have enough for a systemic infection versus a localized one? Most people think they have 2 weeks of medical supplies. The math usually says they have about 3 days of actual usable capability. Stop guessing with your life. Go to protocolsurvival.com and use the calculator. Get your survival score. It's not a game, it's an audit of your logistical reality. It will tell you exactly how long you last before you run out of the things that keep you alive. If your score is under 60, you are a liability to your family. Fix it. protocolsurvival.com. Let's debrief the Miller scenario. How do we stop that death? It wasn't about having a surgeon, it was about hygiene. In a collapse, soap is more valuable than ammunition. I will say that again. Soap is more valuable than ammunition. You can survive without shooting anyone. You cannot survive a world of filth without chemical sanitation. The World Health Organization data is clear. Simple hand hygiene reduces diarrheal diseases by 30% and respiratory infections by nearly 20%. In your world, that 20% margin is the difference between life and death. Your medical kit needs to start with gallons of liquid soap, alcohol-based hand sanitizer, and a strict military-grade protocol for washing. Before you eat, after you use the latrine, before you treat a wound. No exceptions. If someone in your group refuses to wash their hands because they think it's soft, you kick them out. They are a biological vector. They are a threat to the unit. For the wound itself, the protocol is aggressive irrigation. The solution to pollution is dilution. If you don't have sterile saline, you use boiled water that has cooled. You flush that wound with pressure. You scrub it even if the patient screams. You have to get the debris and the bacteria out immediately. You don't seal it up with duct tape. You dress it with sterile gauze and you change that dressing daily. You monitor for those red streaks. If you have antibiotic ointment, you use it, but you don't rely on it. You rely on mechanical cleaning. This is basic preventative maintenance for the human machine. If you skip this step because you're tired or you want to save water, you are signing a death warrant. Water used for cleaning a wound is never wasted water. It is an investment in keeping a body in the fight. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. I see it in the comments every time. You think, Miller wouldn't die because the National Guard would have a medical tent set up by day 14. Or, FEMA will have distribution centres with antibiotics. Let me dismantle that hope right now. In a regional disaster, maybe. In a systemic collapse, a true grid-down scenario, the National Guard is not coming to check your boo-boo. Their mission profile shifts to infrastructure protection and civil order. Their medical assets are reserved for their own personnel and high-value targets. Furthermore, the supply chain for antibiotics is global and incredibly fragile. It collapses in weeks, not months. The strategic stockpile is finite, and it will be drained by the cities within 72 hours. Even if there are field hospitals, do you really want to drag your sick family member 5 miles through a non-permissive environment to wait in line with 3,000 other desperate infected people? That isn't a hospital, it's a casualty collection point. You are on your own. Accept it. Let's move to a darker scenario. This one doesn't involve blood. It involves a 10-year-old girl named Sophie. Sophie has type 1 diabetes. Her pancreas stopped producing insulin 3 years ago. In the old world, this was a manageable condition. A quick check, a quick injection, and she goes to school. But the grid is down. The pharmacy is burned out. Sophie's father, Mark, has a stash of insulin in a cooler. But the ice melted 4 days ago. He's trying to keep it cool by burying it in the ground, wrapping it in wet towels. He knows that insulin denatures in the heat. He also knows he only has 3 vials left. So, Mark makes a command decision. He starts rationing. He gives Sophie half doses. He tells her to eat less. He thinks he's stretching the supply. He thinks he's buying time. He isn't. He is inducing diabetic ketoacidosis. Sophie starts getting thirsty, unquenchably thirsty. Her breath starts to smell fruity, like nail polish remover. She becomes confused, lethargic. Mark doesn't recognize the signs because he's not a doctor. He's an accountant who bought a gun. He thinks she's just dehydrated or stressed. He tells her to rest. He keeps giving the half doses. Sophie slips into a coma on the living room floor. Her body is literally turning its own fat into acid to survive, poisoning her blood. Now Mark is panicking. He gives her a full dose, but it's too late. The metabolic cascade has gone too far. Without IV fluids to flush the acid, without electrolyte replacement, without precise glucose monitoring, Sophie dies in her sleep. Mark survives the collapse, but he never recovers. He has to bury his daughter in the backyard because he didn't understand the brutal math of chronic disease. This is the reality for millions of people. If you or someone in your group is dependent on a pharmaceutical supply chain to live, that supply chain is your umbilical cord. If it gets cut, the clock starts ticking. So, what could Mark have done? The hard truth. Type 1 diabetics, dialysis patients, and severe cardiac cases have the lowest survivability in a total collapse. That is the grim reality. But you can buy time. If you have a chronic condition, you need to stockpile months, not weeks, of your medication now, while the system works. You need to rotate it. You need to learn how to keep insulin cool without electricity. Evaporative cooling pots, root cellars, springs. But more importantly, you need to understand the physiology. Mark needed to know what ketoacidosis looks like. He needed to know that rationing insulin is a death sentence. He needed a glucometer with extra batteries and test strips. If you have high blood pressure, you need a manual cuff and a stethoscope, and you need to know how to use them. You cannot manage what you cannot measure. You need to become the expert on your own condition. Do not expect a doctor to save you. You are the doctor now. For type 2 diabetes, hypertension, and heart disease, your best defense is aggressive lifestyle modification before the collapse. If you are overweight, if you smoke, if you eat garbage, you are building a structural weakness into your survival plan. In a high-stress, low-resource environment, your heart attack is waiting for you. Get fit now. Wean yourself off non-critical meds if your doctor agrees it's possible through diet and exercise. If the grid goes down, your diet will change forcibly. You'll be eating less, moving more. That helps some conditions, but the stress will kill you if your vessels are clogged. The most tactical thing you can do today isn't buying night vision. It's doing cardio and dropping 20 pounds. Hard to hear? Good. That means you know it's true. Scenario 3. It's summer. The heat is oppressive. Your water stockpile ran dry a week ago. Your group has found a creek. The water looks clear. It's running over rocks. It looks like a Coors Light commercial. Your team is thirsty. They fill their canteens. They drink. Nobody boils it because it looks clean and fuel is scarce. 12 hours later, the first person starts vomiting. Then the diarrhea hits. It's explosive. It's constant. This isn't a stomach bug. This is dysentery, or maybe cholera, or maybe giardia. Within 24 hours, 3 of your people are down. They can't keep water down. They are losing fluids from both ends. Their eyes are sunken. Their skin tense when you pinch it. They are lethargic. You are watching them deflate. The smell in your safe house is horrific. You are now fighting a biological war on 2 fronts, keeping the sick alive and preventing the healthy from getting infected by the sick. Here is the math. A child can die from dehydration in a day, an adult in 2 or 3. When you lose that much fluid, your blood volume drops. Your heart has to pump faster to move the sludge that used to be your blood. Your organs start to shut down. Shock sets in. And the worst part? You have water now, you're boiling it frantically, but they can't drink it fast enough to replace what they're losing. Every time they sip, they vomit. You watch your wife gasping for air, her lips cracked and bleeding, looking at you with confusion because her brain is starving for oxygenated blood. She dies of hypovolemic shock, all because you trusted clear water. This is the #1 killer in every refugee crisis, every war zone, every collapse in history. It will be the #1 killer in yours. The weapon against this enemy is not a rifle. It is a mixture of salt and sugar. It is called oral rehydration salts, or ORS. The WHO calls it one of the greatest medical advances of the 20th century. When the gut is infected, it shuts down normal absorption. Water runs right through. But the presence of glucose and sodium in the right ratio unlocks a back door in the intestinal wall, allowing water to be absorbed even during severe infection. You need to stock commercial ORS packets, hundreds of them. They are cheap, they weigh nothing. If you don't have them, you need to know the recipe by heart. 6 level teaspoons of sugar, half a level teaspoon of salt, into 1 litre of clean water. Memorize it. Write it on your wall. That recipe is the difference between watching your child die and nursing them back to health. And you need a way to administer it small and slow. A teaspoon every minute. If they vomit, you wait 10 minutes and start again. You do not stop. Prevention is the only real cure here. You never drink raw water. I don't care if it comes out of a glacier. You boil it, you filter it, or you bleach it. 2 drops of regular unscented bleach per litre of clear water. Let it sit for 30 minutes. If the water is cloudy, 4 drops. If you don't smell chlorine, it's not safe. But beyond water, you need latrine discipline. If you are digging a hole 10 feet from your food prep area, you are killing yourself. Latrines must be downrange, downhill, and away from water sources. Hand washing stations must be at the latrine. Flies transfer fecal matter to food. You need to wage war on flies. In a collapse, sanitation is security. If you fail at sanitation, your perimeter security doesn't matter because the enemy is already inside the wire. Scenario 4. This one is for the gear queers. You have a guy in your group, Tactical Tim. He spent $5,000 on a fully loaded medic bag. He has scalpels, hemostats, suture kits. He watched a few YouTube videos on field surgery. A member of your group gets shot in the leg during a scavenging run. The bullet is lodged. There's no exit wound. The bleeding is controlled with pressure, but the patient is in pain. Tim decides he needs to remove the bullet. He thinks leaving it in will cause lead poisoning or infection. He lays the patient out on the dining table. He doesn't have anesthesia, just a bottle of whiskey and a bite stick. He starts cutting. He starts digging. He hits a vessel. The bleeding, which was controlled, is now massive. He can't clamp it. The patient screams until he passes out from shock. Tim is elbow deep in a wound he creates, panicking. The patient bleeds out on the table. Tim killed him. The bullet lodged in the muscle wasn't the threat. The amateur surgery was. Bullets are sterile when they leave the barrel. Unless it hit a bone or a major organ, leaving it in is often safer than digging for it in a septic environment. But Tim wanted to be the hero. He wanted to use his gear. This is the danger of having tools without training. In a collapse, knowing what not to do is more important than knowing what to do. You are not a surgeon. You do not have a sterile field. You do not have blood banks. Every time you break the skin, you are inviting death in. If you try to play God with a scalpel, you will just be playing executioner. So what is the correct move? You control the bleed. Tourniquet if it's arterial, pressure dressing if it's not. You clean the surface. You pack the wound if necessary with hemostatic gauze. And then you wait. You treat for shock, keep them warm, elevate the legs. If the bullet is in there, it stays in there. Your job is not to fix the anatomy. It is to stabilize the physiology. You are buying time for the body to heal itself. Most gunshot wounds that don't hit vital organs are survivable with basic care and antibiotics. But you have to know your limits. Your surgery skills should be limited to draining shallow abscesses and stitching minor lacerations. And even then, steri-strips or superglue are often better because they don't create new puncture holes. Don't be Tim. Be the guy who knows that a live patient with a bullet in his leg is better than a dead patient with an extracted bullet in a jar. This brings me to a critical point. When the grid goes down, the internet goes down. All those YouTube videos, all those WebMD articles, gone. If you are trying to remember the ratio for ORS or the symptoms of sepsis from memory, you will fail. You need a reference system that works when the lights are out. I built Protocol Survival to be that system. It has an offline mode. You download the database to your phone or tablet now, and it works when the cell towers are dead. It has the checklists, the dosages, the diagnostic trees. It is your digital brain when your actual brain is panicked. Secure your data now. protocolsurvival.com. Don't wait until the screen goes black. Scenario 5. The one nobody plans for. Dental. You have a cavity you've been ignoring. The collapse happens. 3 months in, that cavity breaches the pulp. The pain is blinding. It's not an ache, it's a jackhammer in your skull. You can't eat. You can't sleep. You can't stand watch. You are useless to the group. The infection spreads to your jawbone. Your face swells up like a melon. The abscess is pressing on your airway. This is how people died for thousands of years. A simple tooth infection tracking to the brain or the heart. You are begging someone to pull it, but nobody has pliers, nobody has lidocaine, and nobody has the strength to hold you down while they break your tooth in half trying to yank it out. Dental health is medical preparedness. Get your teeth fixed now. Fill the cavities. Pull the wisdom teeth. Do not take a ticking time bomb into the apocalypse. But for your kit, you need temporary filling material, glass ionomer. You need clove oil, eugenol. It is a powerful anaesthetic for tooth pain. You need a dedicated dental extraction kit, and you need to study the anatomy of tooth roots so you don't leave a shard in the gum. And you need antibiotics specifically for oral infections like clindamycin or amoxicillin. Fish antibiotics are a controversial topic. I won't tell you to break the law, but I will tell you to know what they are. An abscessed tooth is a medical emergency. If you can't treat it, the patient will become psychotic from pain and eventually septic. Stockpile soft foods. If you can't chew, you starve. It's simple, brutal math. Scenario 6. The patriarch of your group, 65 years old, collapses while chopping wood. No pulse, no breathing. You start CPR. You took a class 5 years ago. You remember the rhythm. Staying alive. You pump. You crack ribs. It's exhausting. 2 minutes feels like an hour. You yell for help. Someone takes over. You do this for 10 minutes. 20 minutes. He's not waking up. In the old world, paramedics would be there with a defibrillator and epinephrine in 8 minutes. Here, there is nothing. You are manually circulating his blood, but his heart is fibrillating and you cannot reset the rhythm with your hands. You have to make a decision. How long do you keep going? When do you call it? When do you stop wasting the calories of your team on a corpse? This is the hardest math of all. CPR without advanced life support, ALS, has a very low success rate for cardiac arrest. Less than 10% survival to discharge, even in hospitals, for unwitnessed arrests. In a grid down scenario, CPR is a bridge to nowhere if you don't have an AED, automated external defibrillator. If you have the budget, buy an AED. They save lives. But if you don't, you need to understand that CPR is mostly for buying time for an ambulance. If the ambulance isn't coming, CPR is often futile. I'm not saying don't try, you try, but you need to know when to stop. If you work on him for an hour, exhaust your whole team, and he's gone, you've just weakened the group's security posture for nothing. It's cold, I know, but survival is about resource management, and energy is a resource. You need to have the termination of resuscitation talk with your group before it happens. Define the limits. Some of you will argue, I don't need to know this, I'll just recruit a doctor for my group. That is a solid plan until the doctor gets shot, or gets dysentery, or decides to leave. Or the doctor is a dermatologist who hasn't treated a trauma patient in 20 years. Relying on a specialist is a single point of failure. You need redundancy. Every adult in your group needs to know the basics of wound care, sanitation, and CPR. Knowledge must be distributed. If Doc is the only one who knows how to dose antibiotics, and Doc dies, you all die. Cross-train. Spend your weekends learning TCCC, Tactical Combat Casualty Care, and wilderness medicine, not just shooting at the range. Shooting protects you from bad guys. Medicine protects you from the world. We focus on the blood and the guts, but we ignore the mind. Being the medic in a collapse is a curse. You will see things you can't unsee. You will have to make decisions that haunt you. You will have to tell a mother that you can't save her child because you don't have the meds. You will have to clean the waste of your friends. You will be the angel of death as often as the angel of mercy. Burnout will happen fast. You need to prepare yourself psychologically for failure. You are not a hospital. You are a mechanic working on a broken engine with duct tape. You will lose patience. The goal isn't to save everyone. The goal is to save the ones who can be saved, and to provide dignity to the ones who can't. This leads us to the final skill, palliative care. Hospice. When the antibiotics don't work, when the injury is non-survivable, your job shifts from saving life to easing death. Do you have strong pain meds stockpiled? Not for a twisted ankle, but for the end? Do you know how to comfort someone who is terrified? Do you know how to hold a hand and lie to them that it's going to be okay so they can pass in peace? That is medicine too, maybe the most important kind in this scenario. It protects the humanity of the group. It reminds you that you aren't animals. If you let your people die screaming in agony, you destroy the soul of the survivors. Stockpile comfort. Stockpile mercy. Let's recap the immediate action drill. Step 1. Sanitation. Gallons of soap, bleach, and a strict hand-washing culture. This stops the invisible killers. Step 2. Water security. Never trust a clear stream. Boil, filter, chemically treat. ORS packets in every bag. Step 3. Wound management. Flush, clean, dress, monitor. No amateur surgery. Step 4. Chronic disease audit. Know the weak points in your group. Stockpile meds or make the hard plans now. Step 5. Knowledge distribution. No single points of failure. Everyone trains. This is your curriculum. This is the work. It is not sexy. It is not fun. It is chores. But these chores are the retaining wall holding back the flood of mortality. Go to your kit right now. Dump it on the floor. Look at it. How many tourniquets? Good. How much Neosporin? How much ibuprofen? How much loperamide? Imodium. You should have 5 times more blister pads than chest seals. You should have a mountain of gauze. You should have a thermometer. If your kit fits in a small pouch, it's a trauma kit, not a medical kit. A medical kit fills a tote bin. It has distinct modules: trauma, infection, stomach, dental, minor boo-boos. Label them, colour code them. Make it so a panicked teenager can find the antidiarrheals in the dark. Organisation is survival. Chaos is death. There is a story about a man in the siege of Sarajevo. He wasn't a soldier. He was a man who boiled water. That was his job. He kept a fire going, he boiled water in a big drum, and he distributed it to his neighbours. While snipers were taking shots at the intersection, he was fighting the microbes. He saved more lives than the guys with the AKs. He was a guardian. That is what you are training to be. Not a hero, a guardian. The person who stands between your family and the entropy of a broken world. The person who says, "Wash your hands," with the same authority as, "Get down." The person who notices the red streak on the arm before it's too late. The collapse isn't a movie. The credits don't roll. The hero doesn't always win. The brutal math is indifferent to your courage. It only cares about your preparation. It measures your survival in calories, in litres of fluids, in milligrams of antibiotics. You can cheat the math for a while with luck, but eventually the equation balances. Your job is to stack the variables in your favour, to be the anomaly in the data, to be the one who looked the brutal math in the eye and did the homework. We often think that medicine is about fixing the body, but in the end, it's about maintaining the will to endure. When you put a clean bandage on a wound, you are telling that person, "You matter. You are worth saving. We are not giving up." That message is more powerful than the medicine itself. The grid isn't just copper wires and power plants. The grid is us. It's the care we take of each other. When the lights go out, be the one who keeps that grid alive.